The goal of this podcast is to help you break in and thrive in advertising. We do that every single week by sharing the stories and advice of those rocking it on the other side. This is an amazing episode. I can't wait for you all to listen. We are interviewing Jaime Robinson. She is the co founder and chief creative officer of JOAN. JOAN is an independent creative agency known for blending big brand ideas with modern media execution. Their difference, they focus on building modern legends by developing bold, relevant campaigns that audiences seek out rather than avoid. I love to skip ads. Maybe the ads that Joan makes, we don't skip. They do work for clients like eBay, S&P Global, Virgin Hotels, and Luna Daily. This episode is amazing for aspiring mid-level creatives. We get into how to be successful as a junior creative, so copywriter or art director. Then I ask about how do you be successful at a creative director level, something we've never done on this show. And why this is interesting is it can help you understand, if you're a junior, how to make life easier for your ACDs or your creative director bosses and what they're going through. And of course, she'll talk about how she broke into this business at Mad Dogs and Englishmen, which is like it might be a Hall of Fame agency. Just some amazing people have come out of that shop. She's one of them as a CCO. Dan Lucy from Havas, CCO. Chris Beresford Hill, CCO of BBDO, came out of that. So we kind of get into what was that vibe like early in those days. All of this here for you all. Please take your time, enjoy, listen to this, stop it, come back to it, take your time. It was a lot of fun to record. You're going to love Jaime. You're going to want to connect with her. At the end, she tells you how to do that. Now, and also leave 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That helps us continue to grow and do this full time to help you out every single week. Now, on with the show. This is the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. And as usual, I'm your accomplice, Gino Schellenberger. Kick it, Mikey. All right, Jaime Robinson, welcome to the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing so good, Gino. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting to be here and talking to you. It's a great podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. Excited to have you on. This is going to be a good one. We're here to talk about you. We're here to talk about what it means to be the co-founder and CCO at JOAN and how you got into this business, advice along the way, any lessons for everybody else out there trying to break in. How does that overview sound to you?
Sounds great, man. Sounds great. It's your show. I'm just here for the ride.
And all the good advice you'll disseminate. So
Indeed.
I will walk us through this path, but you're really going to be the star of it. So first question, really, who are you? Where are you calling in from outside of work stuff? Tell us about Jaime.
Oh my God, that's a big question. I am Jaime. I am, and I don't normally talk about this first, but I am a mother of 2 amazing, punky teenage girls. I am calling in from New Jersey, which is not where I thought I'd end up as a grown up, but it's where I started as a baby. We really love it here. I am a New Jersey apologist. I have to say, for all the shit New Jersey gets, I freaking love it. And I think probably at my heart, I am like a deep creative at heart. I am also somebody who likes to challenge rules a lot. And not because it's, I don't know, not to be a dick or anything like that, but mostly because I think many of them are put into place for arbitrary reasons. And like no one really stops to challenge them. So that is
This explains why you have 2 punky daughters, as you said.
Oh yeah. By the way, they love to challenge my rules. They're fully into that one.
Oh yeah, that's gotta be a fun ride and at that stage. But that's so great. I think what's a common rule that you see in advertising today that you like to break or you think we should break? Come on.
I think people spend a lot of time asking for permission, and they wait. I think, especially in business, for opportunities to come to them versus just going after them on their own. So I think that that's a really interesting rule. I also think that when you have a medium that you work in advertising, the medium is just a it's like a box, right? Like you can fill it, like whether it's a 30-second spot or an out-of-home ad or a piece of social content, it's just a box, and you can fill it with everything you want. But it also, the idea can stretch outside that box. And I think one of the things that people tend to do is they tend to think the box is the only place that they can play in, versus how does that box actually interact with other boxes? And you can take all those boxes and make a bigger picture. And that creates an immersive and interesting experience for the audience that is new and usually inventive and hasn't been done before. So that's the kind of thing that I get really excited by.
Nice, nice. Is there a fun example maybe recently Joan has done that exemplifies that you can
Yeah,
think of?
yeah, absolutely. So uh, something that happened came out of our London office was for a beauty brand called Luna Daily. It's a body wash, and it's for your whole body. And one of the main things it washes is like your lady bits downtown. Which the fact that I'm even saying lady bits downtown is a problem, because when studies show that when women can say they can talk about their vulvas and say their vulva by the correct name. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah. No,
this
all
is
good.
this is an example that it actually that it helps them have much greater sexual and personal and mental health than they would have if they were ashamed. So did a mission to get the word vulva out. So the team looked at out of home, and their first thought was, okay, we should expose people to the word vulva so they get comfortable saying it. And they bought big out of home and plastered the word vulva as big as it can be all over London. But that was just one box that you could fill, which was the big at home. Right now, already breaking rules. Like the word vulva going up in giant letters
Right.
is completely not what anybody would expect to see, or especially the English. They're a little bit, they're a little nervous.
Well, yeah, you bring into the different cultural plays there too. Like different cultures might react differently to different things. So just that context there alone is worth noting.
Yeah, and absolutely, indeed. But further to that, the team created a curriculum that was about helping women. I'll say that again.
Yeah.
Further to that, the team created an exposure therapy curriculum that they were able to help people like get used to, just like you would get exposed to spiders if you were afraid of spiders, the word vulva. And they recorded it with like one of the best psychologists in the country, and they made it, and so you could actually become desensitized to saying the word vulva, so that by the end of it, the campaign, you could call up, you could see it online, it was in social, you were exposed to word vulva. So yeah, there were the individual units of the mediums, but they created something that was so much bigger, and made it interactive.
I love it. Love it. Great example there. And I think, does this kind of, is this a good example of how you and Joan tries to operate and like getting into the ethos? Can you tell us more about the agency?
Yeah, I mean, I think our big core philosophy is about making modern legends. And when Lisa and I first started this company, we were looking at, there were like agencies that were great at making big brand ideas, and they would usually manifest in like a 60-second anthemic TV. And then there were agencies that were really great at modern media, like social and entertainment and content and all of those things. And there weren't many companies that were combining them both, like taking the big brand ideas and then executing them in modern ways. So that like is a big thing of Joan, is we're like, how do we take this big fucking idea and turn it into something that audiences want to see, that want to be a part of, they can interact with, that feels like it's born of today and could only be out today. And we do that for brands like eBay and S&P Global and Virgin Hotels, and it's really exciting because it helps our clients get closer to culture. It helps them get closer to their audiences, and we create things that audiences seek out and engage in, not run away from.
Love it. Love it. Tell me more about the people that you work with in your role specifically now as CCO, co founder. What does that mean? Who are you working with? What's the agency look like physically? Are you showing up in the office? Give me all of it.
Yeah, well, we are, I believe, at a little over 100 in New York, and then I think about 20 in London, and I think 9 in Berlin. So we're getting, thank you, Gino. So yeah, we're getting like bigger and more exciting rather. We're getting bigger and more exciting, and the we are in the office Tuesdays and Thursdays. It was one of these things that during the pandemic you have a choice. Do I want to come back? Do I want to keep investing in it? For us, our people were craving it. And it's really interesting because I think a lot of people during the pandemic got very lonely and work became very transactional. So for us, our we did surveys, and our team overwhelmingly wanted to come back at least 2 days per week and like hang out, like bounce ideas off of each other. And I think it's a very close group, so that is something that that is very generative, and so that was very natural for us. So we are in the office 2 days, but then 3 days, you can work from wherever. And I'll be honest, like my Fridays and my Mondays, I'm like, I want to be home. I don't want to work from the office. I need to like be deep in my shit.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, but I'm working with amazing creatives, and actually people in our exec team, and my day is like, a day as a CCO in a company of our size is very mixed. Like sometimes you're with clients, sometimes you're with juniors, and I'm working hand in hand with juniors. Sometimes I'm like making content. Sometimes I am working with our exec team to develop, to chart the course of the future. Sometimes I'm working with London. Sometimes I'm working with people in Berlin. It's like every day is a different adventure, and that's awesome. Like I love that. It keeps me sharp, and it makes it fun for me.
Absolutely. I mean, and probably like, how do you even prioritize like what to do every single day with all these different, you can tackle anything. You can get in the weeds and the work, or you can think more organizationally.
I don't know
And
if you can figure it out. Will you tell me? And my team that was listening to this is probably dying laughing because it's the God's honest truth. I'm always like, I have no idea. Especially if you add in like some kind of touch of ADHD, which I'm not diagnosed. But when I said to my assistant, I think I have ADHD, she said, "You think?" And so, like, honestly, like I personally tend to go where I try to carve off some time for vision type things. I try to carve off some time for plotting the future, whether that's reaching out to old clients that I want to get back in touch with, or thinking about different things that the agency may want to do on a creative, like different formats or different kinds of AI and things like that. Like really thinking about that. So I try to carve off a good chunk of time doing that.
and it's not all on you. Like you have, I'm assuming you have like really good ECDs or group creative directors that can help carry your vision and the mission of the agency.
Dude, we have the best. We have the best ones. And not only do we have the best ones, like they bring vision too. So, I think one of the things, there's a very old school way of doing this job, was to say that like I have the ideas and only I drive it forward. I think now one of the things that we try to do at Joan is listen to people, look for ideas, and especially when you have such talented ECDs, which I have, two incredible ones, one in London and one in New York, who I love to death. I was just on the phone with them right now. It's really about opening the floor to them and the GCDs and the CDs and saying, what do we want to do? Like, what do we want to like? What's next? What are we going to do? And everybody, I love what happens when you do that is everybody helps everybody get better. And I think whether instead of becoming something that becomes incredibly competitive, it becomes something that's additive, and people really eagerly volunteer their time and their energy and their creativity to one another. And that kicks ass. Like that's why we do it. Otherwise, there's like much easier ways to make money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I want to break the format actually. And speaking of breaking rules, I've never done this before, but I'm really curious. I want to highlight different roles within the creative track, and maybe you can just give your quick advice on how to be successful at that level.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we got the CCO. Like our listeners are not CCOs for the most part. They will be one day, but that advice to be a CCO is not applicable to our audience. So I guess I really kind of want to hover around the creative director level. Like,
Yeah.
what do you see in your career? What makes a good creative director? How do they operate? How do they think? What have you seen? Can we talk about that CD level?
Yeah. I think something that may help set this into context is a really scientific model that I developed a few years ago, which I call the bell curve of responsibility. And the way that the bell curve works is that at the very bottom, as you go up over time, you get more and more responsible. And so as you come in as a junior, and as a junior, I do not want you to be responsible at all. I want you to be bringing me your most audacious, daring, fucked up, wrong, half ideas that you can do. Like, I don't care. Like, I would rather see 20 half ideas from a junior that are crazy. And I'm like, I once had a junior bring me an idea. It was dolphin telemarketer. And I'm like, I don't know what dolphin telemarketer is, but I love it. So let's figure it out. So that's what I want from the juniors. And then as you go up the bell curve, you get into your seniors. Now, at this point, you get a little more responsibility. Like, you're still supposed to bring audacity, but you need to start nailing it. Like, if you're not nailing it as a senior, fairly often, then you're in trouble.
Can you define nail it?
Yeah.
For our listeners.
So nail it would be like, I like it, the Venn diagram of, it's something that is completely on brief. So it's what the client is looking for. It's what we think will solve the business problem, but it has never been done before. And it's new, and it's good creative. It's great creative, like not even just good creative. It's great creative. When I see something where it's perfectly on brief, it's strategic, it's smart, it's the client should be like, yes, I get it. That will solve my problem. And yet it's never been done before. It's advancing the football a little bit down the field, either in tonality or the innovation, the way you're using the mediums, or it's just you're taking the client to a new place. That for me is nailing it. And sometimes it could just be like, you said something that the audience has never heard come from this brand or any brand, and it needed to be said. So that to me is nailing it. So I'm like,
Got
yes.
It. So the juniors, crazy ideas, you might be able to nail it. It might need some shaping from the senior CDs. Like that will come. Yeah. And then the seniors, then they have to nail it more often. Like the percent of nailing it needs to increase, which is great to know.
I would say like the nailing it to non-nailing it. Like if a senior team is not nailing it 70% of the time, like they need to think about what's going on that they're not. Are they not getting the right briefs? Are they not? Is the feedback between the CD and the team not good? Like, is it not clear? Like, what is going on? Because by the time they're seniors, they should be able to get it. And then you get to CDs. Now, CDs are. This is, I think, a tough transition for many people, because as a CD, you are still sometimes need to be the guy that's solving it, or the gal that's solving it, and that can answer the brief and do that and nail it, right? But you need to start looking at and prioritizing other people's ideas over your own. And this is where I see a lot of people trip up, because up until this point, they're like, I got to be the CD because I'm amazing, and and my ideas are amazing, and I love my ideas. But the problem is that once you're a creative director, you are now in charge of directing. You are in charge of having the client relationship, listening, seeing what it is going to be that's a nail it from the client perspective on that part of the Venn diagram, right? You've also got to keep in mind your creative ambition. So it becomes a really difficult juggling match, because you're the one who says you've nailed it or you've not nailed it. And so you have to have a very fine-tuned sense of it. So it becomes, on that bell curve of responsibility, it becomes like it becomes a really tricky thing. It's no longer just about, can I crack it? Now, here's the thing. As I mentioned, sometimes a senior team's not going to nail it. And in that point, you have to figure out, how am I going to come in and, without demoralizing the team, either solve it because we need it. We need an idea. We have to get it there, or work with the team to get something that they have in a shape or take a fragment of something that somebody has and turn it into something.
It's so difficult. I could never do that. I don't know how you guys all do that. You're all crazy. That's insane. And I think that's a really cool, like you said it perfectly. And just that understanding, even as a junior, just to understand what your CD is responsible for and what they're doing, like that brings so much knowledge to everybody. They can probably do their jobs better. So then for the junior that just heard this, you say, give them crazy ideas, give them volume, quality, try to nail it as well to make their lives easier, make the client's life happier.
Absolutely. And volume, when you're a junior, even when you're a senior. I think volume is like really key, especially in early stages. As you're learning, and this is mostly for juniors, as you're learning, I don't expect you to have the answer. If you have the answer, I am like giving you a big high five and a hug and a kiss and all those things. Like, okay, great. What I expect you to be is challenging. What I expect you to be is a bucket of ice water in the room and say, I came up with this thing and I don't know what it is. And maybe it's totally wrong. It's probably totally wrong, but here it is. And that's what I want. I want that electric shock from my juniors all the time. And I was talking to one the other day. I was in a cab on the way up to an industry event with one of our juniors, and he's brilliant. But he said, I'm so afraid to get it wrong. I feel like there's so much pressure on the juniors. And I was like, oh my God, no, the opposite. Get it all wrong. I want it all wrong. Just show me all the wrong ideas you have. Because in that wrongness is how we make something new. Like that's the only chance. And this is the thing that I don't think young creatives or even older creatives get, is that the right answer, the good answer, the like, yes, that's right, is sometimes the deadliest thing of all. And I swear, like when I was a creative and I was working on teams, I'd be in teams that were great. We were so good at getting to good answers. We're like, yeah, that's good. That's good. We never did anything interesting. We never did anything breakthrough, because if you stop at good, like, like that's it. Like good feels like a jacuzzi. You're like, oh, this is comfortable, like a
Hmm.
Xanax. Like you're like, I'm just gonna like take here and like this is good. I'm gonna get like people are gonna praise me. The account people are gonna be happy. The client's gonna be happy. But you can't make new. There's nothing new out of good. Like new can only come from knowing enough wrong to get to something that is actually so wrong that it's right. And that's what's new.
Love it. Yeah, it's scary. I mean, it shouldn't feel comfortable. So
Never.
that's a really good point. I've never done that, but I'm learning with you.
Now,
So
now
appreciate that.
the job for the, well, of course, but the job now for the CD, and this is the tricky thing for the CD. The job for the CD now is to go and help his account or her account people, um, and strategists and clients see why this is the right thing to do. That even though it's so wrong, it's right. Why is this right? And that requires strategic thinking. That requires being best friends with your account person. That requires being best friends with your strategist. And I think the things that young creatives get wrong all the time, and sometimes even more senior creatives get wrong all the time, is that it's like we're against each other. It is the dumbest shit in the world. Like we have to get together and we have to understand, why is this right? As a creative, if you find something that you love that is not obvious, you need to make a passionate plea to your partners in the agency first about why this is right. Now, it's totally within their realm to say, I don't think that's right. And if they can have a really smart and clear reason why, you as a creative should take it on board. Because the thing is, if they're saying it, the client is going to say it. So you take it on board and you fix that idea. And you can work with your strategist, you can work with your account person, but you fix it. And sometimes the best work comes out of those fixes. And now you get to walk in as a team and you get to say, we have this crazy shit thing that hits the Venn diagram of your amazing thing and like of your brief and something that's new and creatively interesting. And it's right because of this reason. And I think the last thing I'll just say on this matter is, don't ever walk into a client meeting and say, we think it would be fun, we think it would be cool, because they do not care. They want to know that it's smart and it's going to hit their business objectives, and it can be fun and it could be cool. And it should be, right? It should be those things.
Yeah.
But like if it's not hitting their business objectives, they're going to be like, get out of here. Take a hike, kid.
Love that. Love that. That's great advice. So then I want to understand how you learned all this stuff and how you broke in. The name of the podcast is Breaking Entering. So when did you realize that you want to make ads for a living? How did you break into all of this?
Oh my God. Well, the short answer is I've learned through a lot of error, and like a lot of hard work, late nights, and a lot of missteps. So I've never told this story before, but when I was about 10 or 11 in Jersey, little Jamie Palmiotti, I was in class, and I was a straight A student, like, and I was lucky that my little suburban rural rural elementary school had fostered creativity. But I discovered something when I was about 11, which I really love, which was entertaining people and breaking rules. And I discovered that because it was like the winter and people were sneezing, and I would just say God bless you. And every time I would say God bless you, it would get like a laugh. I mean, it's like the lamest joke in the world, but it would get like a laugh. So I did it all the time. And it was cold season, so everybody would sneeze all the time. And I'd be like, bless you, bless you, bless you. Well, my teacher said to me, Jamie, it's cold season. I appreciate your being polite, but can you just say bless you and we'll know it's for the whole class? And I stood up and I said, bless you, my friends. And I stretched my arms out like the Pope, and it
That's a
killed. It killed. The
that
11 year
crushed.
olds, they loved it. If the joke killed. And I got called to talk to the teachers that were in this kind of group of teachers. There were three of them after class. And Mr. Guido, who was the teacher, his name was really Mr. Guido, said, Jamie, you're such a good girl. And this new behavior, we don't know where this is coming from. And we want the good girl, Jamie, to come back. And I remember being devastated and walking home crying, just sobbing my eyes out. And I remember as I was walking, my footsteps like changed. And I felt I was being patronized, and I was gotten mad. And I was like, no, I don't want to be a good girl. I want to be I want to do this thing. I want to break the rules. I want to speak out. I want to I don't want to be like the fact that he was like, you were such a good girl. What happened? We want that good girl back. Fuck you. Fuck you. Like honestly. And so I mean, I know I was being disruptive for the class, but it was something that they would never have said to a boy after one transgression. And so I was like, that is this. So for me, I think that I knew from a young age that I really wanted to do something that was in the entertainment sphere. And also I think combining that with like problem solving, which is what a lot of creatives do, is they're great at being entertaining and also problem solving. Those are kind of my two passions. And so put that together, and I really wanted, I think advertising was the natural thing for me.
Right. So when did you pursue it? Did you study it in school? Tell me about that?
No, I when I was in high school, I did some kind of, there was like a marketing club, and they had like these, it was called DECA, and they had like advertising competitions. And so I did those in high school, and I won. I was really good at it. And I mean, it was high school and we had to make radio spots, so it wasn't that great, but like, you know, but in college, I went for English. And in my senior year, there was this national student advertising competition that was run by the AAF. And I
Oh yeah,
entered.
it's still going on.
Oh, okay, well, and we entered it, and we won. We won in nationals, and it was like super cool. So from that, I was like, yeah, this seems like something I want to do. I didn't know if I wanted to be a creative or an account person or a planner. I actually didn't even know what the difference was between those things. But we got an internship in New York. 5 of us from the team could get an internship paid for the summer in New York as a result of that. And I ended up lucking into a place called Mad Dogs and Englishmen. And when I went in there, they were like talking to me, and they were like, we think you might be a creative, but can you do the, I didn't have a book. So they were like, can you do this kind of test where we give you a campaign and you extend it? And I did it, and they were like, yep, you're creative. Let's get you in and get you in as an
What
intern.
was do you remember that brief or
I
the
do.
assignment? What do they call it? Like a copy test, creative
Copy
test?
test. Yeah, copy
Yeah.
test. It was for the Village Voice, and they had done this campaign, was called Not America's Favorite Paper. And it was basically like all about right wingers like destroying the voice in some way. And like it was like for like people that were super, because the Village Voice is super liberal, and it was like it was a really edgy campaign. And I was like, okay, this is edgy. I looked at my potential boss, and he was wearing a t-shirt that had like Barney the dinosaur shooting heroin, and I'm like, this is crazy. So I'm like, I got to go super edgy. So I did my copy, my examples. I don't even, to be honest, remember what they did, but I remember it was like, you got to be edgy, and I faxed them back, and they were like, cool, you can be a creative intern. So I got that. And then I stayed there for summer, and then this summer ended, and I was like, I need money. So I started to temp, and I got a call from the finance guy, strangely enough. And his name is David Drucker. And he was like, hey, Jamie, do you want to come back into the office and have a chat? And he's like, listen, we don't have any creative positions yet for you, but we think you're really fun to have around. And like, we really all liked you. So do you want to come and be the creative assistant to the creative directors? And I was like, cool. And like, and you can take briefs. So I did that, and I was the receptionist up front, and I was kind of taking briefs on the side. And then soon I was doing more and more work that was real work and less, and actually really screwing up the assistant part. And so when I when
Yeah, yeah.
they were like,
Priorities.
not intentionally, but
Yeah,
they
yeah.
were
You got
like,
priorities. Yeah.
I would like, we used to like, people used to, at the time used to send books around, and like little like physical books, and I would literally lose them. I don't know how I lost them in an office, but I would lose their books. So so they were like, okay, and like, you can become a junior copywriter. So I did, and that was really cool.
That agency has come up a couple times with Dan Lucy and I believe Chris Beresford Hill as well.
Yes.
Don't quote me on that, but their
They didn't.
episode they talked about the copy test. Uh, so you broke in through that internship and all that experience. And what did you learn there? What was the vibe there? How was that?
The vibe was great, and you are correct. Chris Beresford Hill likes to say that he was my intern, but he's full of shit. He was an intern when I was a copywriter, but um, the so the vibe there was crazy. Like honestly, it was crazy. It was loving. It was challenging. We used to have, there was a house in upstate New York that the partners all had, and some of us go up on the weekends. It was the closest thing to a benevolent cult that I can imagine. Um, but it was so hard. Like, you had to, the bar was so high, and we were all young people that had, none of us, like, they would start with taking interns, and then some of us would stay, and we would become the real workforce of this company. So imagine being like intern and seeing client. I went to like HBO as a client when I was an intern. Like, that's how, like, I was presenting as the only creative in the room when I was an intern. So that was the place. A lot of trust, but you had to hit the bar. I think the thing that it really taught me was how hard I had to work, how comedy, because it was very much a comedy place, is extremely difficult and extremely, I would say, merciless, uh, in that it has to be really funny. Like, you have to really, really, really be funny. And my bosses they would put us to the paces for that. But I am so grateful beyond belief to them, because they were hard on me, and because they were hard on me, and all of us, we all got really good. Like, it's not an accident that Chris Beresford Hill and Dan Lucy and like incredible people, Spencer Bain, Michael Fanuel, like really incredible people came out of Mad Dogs. Like, it was a place where you learned. It was trial by fire, but it was trial by fire with like a lot of beers afterwards. And I met my husband there, and he's amazing, creative in the industry, and it's yeah, it was just that kind of a place.
Oh, I love it. I want to do a little documentary series of like greatest agencies in history and like circle like just a magnifying glass on like Crispin and like the 2000s, like Mad Dog and Englishman. I'm not sure what the time span there is, but that's something that I want to do. I don't know. Maybe we can get that going too. But
I would be so happy to like collaborate with you on that, because I think those stories need to be told. And I think there's something magical that happens when you're in a place like that. Actually, Chiat in San Francisco was quite a bit like that, and Pereira and Odell when I was there too. These kind of small, interesting hotbeds of creativity, where great work is just coming out, and it's fun, and the people are are really excited to be there and help each other out and remain friends forever.
and it seems like you're crafting that today with Joan.
That
So
is, thank you. That's my hope. It's so funny. I was just talking with the ECDs, and they were talking about, in the past week and a half, they've had some of the most fun meetings that they've had in like ever. And I think that that's what we're looking for. How do we make it fun? It's like, this is such a hard job. Like, the timelines, and you're coming in, like, the people that are listening to this are coming in at a time where it's getting much, much harder than it even used to be. Like, when I was a kid in this business, it was tough. The bar was high. You wanted to win. It was competitive, but the timelines were longer. for some reason it felt that education and coaching was part of it. Like it was natural. It just happened through the course of doing the work. I think now we have short timelines. We have low budgets. We have high expectations, and we have competition from everywhere. And so I think the thing that we have to work to do, and we try to do at JOAN is like, make it fun. Like, how do we make it fun? How do we make it so that, people are happy to come to work there, and how to, like, sometimes we get it right, sometimes we don't. But I think it starts with, with really everybody really loving the work that they do, and finding ways to creatively express their voice. Because more than anything, being stopped up is what I think hurts people and makes people burn out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to ask now, if you were to try to get a job today in advertising, how would you go about it? Like, would you have portfolio? Would you go to portfolio school? Would you do something crazy and write like a message in a bottle? Like, how would you break in today?
I think the advice I would give you is, in real estate, there's a maxim, which is buy the crappiest house you can afford in the best neighborhood you can afford. So go to the best neighborhood that you can possibly afford and buy the crappiest house there. And I think that's a little bit, because it will appreciate in value, right? Because the neighborhood is what appreciates in value. And the reason why I say this, I think that's a little similar to the advice I'd give to you as a creative, is and this is the advice I'd give my whole life, find the agency that you want to be at. And even if the job that isn't the job you would want is there, take that position and then work your hardest to get noticed. Because once you're in the door, it is much easier for somebody to fall in love with you, to take a liking to you, to give you a chance, for Kismet to put you in the kitchen at the same time as the CCO, and you can pitch your idea. And then once you're in that position, that's on you to be someone that people see, that they do fall in love with. Make like we have a team right now who's doing a great job. They're making these weekly TikToks that are about pieces of work that they like from the industry, and if they have won awards, and whether they think it's good or not good. And they're so charming that you have to fall in love with this team. Now, if I'm a CD, I'm looking at that team and going, I want that team. They're funny. They get it. They understand social. They're hungry. They picking work that I like too. And so I would be like, find a great agency, take a job that's open, whether or not it's the job you want, get in there. That's all I would say.
I love it. I love it. Jaime, thank you so much for sharing your story, some of your advice, a lot of advice, which is really great. Usually we focus more on the story and all the lessons upon your career, but we just got to the good stuff right in the middle there. I know we can talk for a lot longer, but I want to make sure our guests know how to reach out to you. If they have questions, they want to say hello, grab a virtual coffee, or show up in person, how can they say hello to you, Jaime?
Well, I think the best thing to do is reach out to me on LinkedIn and say you heard this podcast. And then I think that'll be like, because I get a lot of LinkedIn messages, but don't ever just connect with somebody. Connect with somebody, add a note, be like, I heard you're breaking and entering podcast. I want to talk to you about something. It may take me a little bit, but I will get you. I promise you, I'll write back to you. And then we'll like get in the, with my assistant. And then I think, like if you have flowers, you can bring them down to 44 Wall Street, 12th floor. That's where I am on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Boom. Bring some flowers.
Candy.
People can bring me stuff. 163 Madison Avenue. I would like food personally, like tacos, burritos, anything like that. Maybe I'll make an intro for you to one of our past guests or Jaime personally. So see, that's a good route.
This is a scheme, man. This is a scheme for you and me to just get stuff. That's it.
Yeah. That's not a bad idea. I love it, Jaime. This is going to be awesome. This is a really great episode. So I hope people reach out. I wish you all the best. It seems like you guys are crushing it. You're going to continue to do so. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure. You rock. Thank you for doing this.
You do too.